we sold out almost 6,000 NFTs. What we're seeing is a pretty major shift in the sort of global economic landscape. And BlackRock coming out saying, we want to tokenize everything. Imagine if you had the ability to actually own one of the royalties that Wheaton is making their money off of.
Well, I'm excited to sit down with Henry. He's the CEO and founder of Streamex. Streamex tokenizes real-world assets. They're one of the few that's actually fully compliant, and they're coming out of the gate pretty strong here. Henry has worked with the Fiore Group before. That's how we met Morgan Lekstrom, which you guys have also seen on the channel. So I'm really excited to sit down with Henry and see what Streamex is doing, what the future is about for them, and how did it even come about? What made you start it? So I think that's probably the best place to start is, there's not a lot of young blood in the mining space, so it's always cool to see somebody else. And it's always interesting to hear about what you're working on. Because Streamex has taken an interesting approach where you've got the background of people who have mines, who've built mines, who are veterans in the mining industry, and they're now looking at tokenization and crypto. Yep. So how are you, how did this start, and how did it start here?
Yeah, no, thanks a lot for having me. It was kind of funny. I was here, I was finishing out my mining engineering degree at McGill. And so, I've been working in the mining space since I was 18 years old. I actually started a project called Red Mountain up in northern BC. Mm-hmm. And so I was here, 2 summers ago, working an internship with the Fuse group. And that's sort of around the same time that I met Morgan. Morgan had just come here, taken over CEO of Black Wolf. And we just sort of started talking. And something that was interesting is, when I started in school and back in 2019, I got together with a couple buddies and launched an NFT project called Fat Cats Capital. Uh-huh. We didn't know what we were doing. We we had no idea. We had $200 marketing budget. We got out and just started trying things out, and it ended up going quite well. We sold out almost 6,000 NFTs.
Wow.
We were the number 3 project in the whole world.
Wow.
And it was awesome. And so that was back in 2020, 2021. We ran that for a couple of years, and I gained a lot of experience from that. When the NFT market sort of took a dive, we transitioned away, started doing more software development services. And so at the time when I met Morgan is when I was working on my company called Lynx, which was a software development company for crypto projects. I was doing that at the same time as working at the Fuse, working with Fuse. And so when Morgan and I met, we started talking, and he was telling me about his experience in the mining space. I was telling him about my experience in the mining space, but then also in crypto. And Morgan, he had heard of crypto, wasn't really super involved at that point. But what we saw is, with this new wave, which is tokenization and the new technology that's coming out with that, there was a potential to solve a couple problems that we saw both in the mining space and also in the blockchain and crypto space through tokenization, and that's sort of when Streamex was born. And so the initial idea for Streamex was essentially the tokenization of commodity royalties, mining royalties, and creating a secondary market for those royalties to trade on. And that's still one of our main goals today. We've actually, expanded quite a bit farther from there, and as we've developed the product, and we're going to be going live now, hopefully in the next month, we have created a platform that essentially has the ability to, tokenize anything. And from there, the ability to create a full marketplace for those tokenized assets. And so,
wow.
Morgan and I met, year and 3 quarters ago. We've been working hard on this ever since, and it's been a fun ride.
Yeah, he's incredibly excited about it, to say the least. Yeah. And Morgan has done some really good things, especially with the turnaround of Black Wolf into Next Gold and that whole journey. And it's interesting to see also how you guys have progressed with Streamex, because I've known Morgan now for, I want to say, about 10 months. And from when he first started talking about the company to now, it's been interesting to see the evolution. So what is your core hypothesis on the future of real world assets, and how does that relate to tokenizations? Why do you think a platform like this needs to exist?
So I think, what we're seeing is a pretty major shift in the sort of global economic landscape as a whole. in general in the TradFi markets, we're seeing, the devaluing of the U.S. dollar. We're seeing a bunch of different things coming out of places outside the U.S. Russia, China, gaining influence, and with that, what we're seeing, in general, is a move to a potentially way more digital financial system. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at, people like Larry Fink and BlackRock coming out saying, we want to tokenize everything. We want to bring everything on chain, because the way that they see the blockchain is that it's it's an immutable ledger, blockchain technology itself. It's a lot more than just, meme coins and crypto. That the actual technology behind blockchain is something that actually makes a lot of sense for financial markets. And so what tokenization allows you to do is essentially represent real things, similar to, a stock. Like a stock represents equity in a company. You can buy, sell, trade it. What tokenization allows you to do is you can actually tokenize and represent anything. And so when we're looking at royalties, a royalty contract itself can be tokenized. And that can be sold rather than just, a Franco-Nevada or Wheaton Precious Metals coming and buying it out. And then, you can buy Franco's stock or Wheaton's stock and everything. But Wheaton Precious Metals had $1 billion year last year. They paid out a dividend, but it was nowhere near what they saw in revenue. Imagine if you had the ability to actually own one of the royalties that Wheaton is making their money off of, or own an individual royalty of a near-term producing mine somewhere close to where you live, and actually get that royalty payment directly to your own wallet. That's what tokenization allows you to do. It allows you to really, curate a portfolio, with royalties, assets that currently aren't really available to the retail market, but then two, just in general, the space that is,
What is going on?
What is going on? It's shaking.
Why is the building shaking? Okay.
Moving on. So what I was saying, essentially, tokenization, it is going to create a new financial market. I think, we're going to see stocks, we're going to see bonds, we're going to see gold is already tokenized. We're going to see, stable coins becoming much more prevalent. And with this shift, we want to be the first ones to bring real commodity assets on chain. And so to create essentially a new market for these assets themselves.
And so the advantage of blockchain for layman's folks like me, is it around instantaneous settlement? Is it like what is the thing that makes this more useful or more accessible than equities?
So the big thing is, there is 500 million crypto users in the world, 500 million people that hold crypto. There is around $3.5 trillion, almost $4 trillion worth of capital in the crypto market. If you take, the total market cap of all tokens. If you compare that to the mining investing landscape right now, it is 1,000 times bigger. If we're for example, we have a partnership with Coinbase. Coinbase has 60 million users. If we're able to bring 1% of those 60 million, 600,000 people, that would almost 6x the existing mining investing pool.
It's interesting that you say that, because I find that there's been a lot of conversation with companies recently that I've had where they say there's not a lot of people in the mining business. There's not a lot of people investing money into mines and into small caps even. Yep. Like if we go broader and say all small caps. Yep. But there's a lot of people taking risky and big bets in crypto. And so their theory is that the people who would have invested money into small caps, do we have to evacuate?
We just had an earthquake, so we're supposed to leave.
Oh, I did. Okay, I felt something, but I wasn't
earthquake?
Sure. Okay, so we have to leave.
Got notices.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you a lot.
That's one way to end a podcast.
Yeah. Oh my God.
What the hell?